Oh wow, I made it to the top of the staircase. It looks like I made it to the temple. This temple houses some of the most fearsome Pokemon known to man, and I don't really know if I'm ready for this adventure. But anyways, I'm here once again to review a new set in the EX era, being EX Legend Maker. And you may be thinking, what kind of awesome Delta Species Pokemon will we see in this set? And that's the fun part. There aren't any in this set. So maybe not really too fun, but it's still a great set with desirable cards. And it still has my personal favorite Gold Star cards in the EX era, which is something cool to note. This set, released back in 2006 on February 13th, features 93 cards in the set, 92 plus 1 secret rare. Since this set is a little smaller than the typical set, it should be a little easier to cover overall, which is good. The set also features a new reverse holo pattern, being that classic Cosmos holofoil pattern, which works super well with that stamp. I had to look up some videos and other sources to find if this was true, but it is interesting that these differ both the reverse and the regular holo. But anyways, I digress, and let me just get changed real quickly before we start. Something interesting about Legend Maker is that despite its small size, it features the same amount of artists as Skyridge, being almost 30. Well, actually, exactly 30. There's a lot to cover, so let's just go into the trainers. So in this set, Takumi Akabane reprinted the Rainbow Energy, but worked on the React Energy, which shows an energy with lightning around it as it goes all around it. Ken Sugimori worked on the Field Worker, which is a cool design for a trainer, as they look around and the Muse sits sneakily behind a tree, which is super awesome. Ryo Ueda worked on a bulk of the trainers in the set, so we'll just cover a few of them. I really like the Strange Cave, because of the glowing Pokeball in the middle with the stalactites and mites. The mysterious fossil glows blue, which is a nice reinterpretation of the one that was originally illustrated by Keiji Kinabuchi. And the giant stump is a cool idea for Stadium, and I think that Ueda did a great job with the item cards that they did for the set, and are continuing to be a fantastic artist for the Pokemon TCG. Whoa, another Pokemon, here to thwart my plans? Reveal yourself, or so help me. I'll go up there and fight you myself. Well, whatever. That may have to wait for another day. But even so, we have move on to our actual first artist, being Tomoaki Imakuni, who worked on the Tentacool, which swipe its tentacles along as Bubble flies out to the camera, and the Pokemon looks with its face going down and heads toward the camera, which is a nice Imakuni card, and like I said, it's cool to see them working on cards. Our next artist is the wonderful Satoshi Ota, whose last appearance was all the way back in Expedition, but in Legend Maker, they worked on this cute Skitty, which play with another Skitty. Cute card for a really cool artist. Next, we have cards by Yukamori, who worked on the Wynot, which smiles as it looks forwards, the Seedot, which looks into the distance and lays on a hill, and the Magby, which raises a hand and looks to the left mysteriously. Mori may have only worked on 3 cards for the set, but all their cards are a welcome addition. Next, we move on to Kenkichi Toyama, who worked on his Crying Omnonite, which takes center stage as the 2 Ommonites in the background seem to be hitting it off. The soft colors in this card and the thick outlines of the Pokemon make the front make for a memorable card that has a tragic backstory, and he's easily noticeable in the set list. Next, we have Hiroki Fuchino, and so far, I've loved all their cards, and this Magnemite is no different, as it pushes this magnet forward and sparks of electricity crackle from one polarity to the next. It makes the Pokemon look actually menacing, which is a really oddly cool Pokemon card for the Magnemite. And now, we have Kanako Io, who worked on this cute Growlithe, which pranced through the fields with another Growlithe. The eyes of the Pokemon are certainly cutified, as they prance confidently, which makes for a cute addition to the Growlithe card family with this cute adorable card. Our next artist is Miki Tanaka, who returns to make more adorable cards, starting with the cute Spheal, which waddles along an icy landscape and looks cutely at the camera, the Geodude, who pushes himself out of some rocks as he blends in, and the Aeron, which is playing with a train track and looks to be blending it all by himself, with shrubbery in the background and mountains. These cards by Tanaka are all adorable, even the Geodude. They didn't give that Pokemon too weird of hands for this card, which is good. Now I have somebody who I've praised for their 3D artwork in the past, being weirdly enough Katsura Tabata, who illustrated the Weepinbell, which opens its mouth as rays of light fall into it, the Nuzleaf, which runs along with the forest with speed lines behind it. It's pretty cool to see this predominantly 3D artist actually illustrate 2 cards, and their style is very simplistic, and is kinda different from card to card. Now, we have Yukiko Baba, who worked on the Wurmple, which looks forward with what seems to be trees in the back, the Machop, which readies its fist for battle and looks to the right, and the Misdreavus, which opens its mouth and looks forwards with the tree to the right and to the left of it. These cards by Baba have that signature style of simplicity and artsy, which I appreciate. Takao Uno is a name we don't hear too often, but they worked on this cute Kabuto, which crawls along the ground with vivid and wonderful foliage around it, which contrasts well against the Pokemon. And now we have Tomokazu Kumiya, who worked on the Trapinch, which looks at the camera and opens up a hole in the ground. The Sentret, which sits on its tail looking mad, with the nice sky. The Grimer, which kind of looks like a muck, with the sun flowing through onto it. The Kecleon, which smiles and stands in front of a waterfall. And the Furret, which looks upset and raises up its arms, which is pretty funny and cute. Kamiya's cards are always a treat because you could always look at these cards for hours. Sachiko Hidachi has unique artwork that just really pushes these boundaries, which I really enjoy. Firstly, we have the clam pearl, which closes its eyes and coral sits around them, the chinchou, which glows brightly as it smiles, and the cascoon, which looks forwards with leaves and branches all around it. All these cards are such cute Hidachi cards, and I really enjoy them. Next, we have Motofumi Fujiwara, who worked on the Spinda, which walks in front of a volcano, which spews smoke out of it, and the Spinda walks along gleefully, which is really cute. Our next artist is Atsuko Nishida, who worked on this cool little leap, which looks forwards and looks like bubbles are all around it. The Vibrava, which flies into the left with an open mouth, and the Anorith, which looks up with its claws ready. The Torkoal, which opens its mouth with the sun spattering all over it. And the Gorbis, which curls along and looks at the camera with its eyes wide open. These cards by Nishida are so strongly in their style, with that super duper heavy shading, it's hard to think this is anything but their style. Ayakusube is here to show what it means to be an artist with extremely thick outlines, and they did here, with this cute little Tangela, as it looks back, as vines all but capture it up, which looks really artistic, but I like the yellow background that it has as well. The Haunter, which looks completely different to Kusube's other Haunter that they worked on, which was the Dark Haunter in Neo Destiny. This one looks significantly more goofy in nature. I love its little hands that it has floating along with the nice trees in the background. And finally, we have the giraffe rig, which prances along with a nice yellow background and with green and blue plants all over the place. These cards encapsulate that awesome style that Kusube is so well known for, and I really love their cards in this set. Oh wow, I hope those rumbles don't mean anything in the future. I just want to get the heck out of here. I don't know what to do though. I mean, I'm already at the top of this tower, so... Ah, was this you, Deoxys? Anyways, let's just move on to the holo cards. Our first artist in this section is Sumiyoshi Kizuki, who worked on this cool Waymare card, which jumps out of the water and smiles as the sky parts around it, and blue and purple can be seen as well. The Graveler, which tumbles down a tree as multicolored rocks fly all around it, with a nice background. And finally, the moment I've waited for, more outlineless cards by Kizuki. Firstly, we have the Magmar, which looks at the camera as it irradiates the area around it with its light, and shadows are cast around, and the Victory Bell Hollow. And let me just say, this style is so nice to have, and I'm happy that they're doing it at this time, as it gives me those older vintage feelings. And that was Kizuki. Next, we can talk about Midori Harada, worked on the Voltorb, which can be seen flying through the sky, with electricity flying behind it and power lines are in the background. The Bellsprout, which holds its head up and opens its mouth laying down. The Celio, which floats upside down with a smile. The Electrode, which hovers over water and illuminates the area around it with voltage. The Huntail, which opens its mouth and coils with a watery vortex behind it. The Absol, which holds onto a rock face with its hands and looks forwards. And the Muck Hollow, which is extremely large and looks at the camera with one eye, looking very goopy. Now we have Kagemaru Himeno, who worked on the Tentacruel, which play along with each other as they have very long spindly tentacles. The Roselia, which extends its petals and smiles as flowers shoot off of it in different colors in a dark forest. The Machoke, which primes its fist and looks to the right with a determined look. The Lantern, which extends its light outwards and illuminates the area around it. And the Lapras Hollow, which is seen trudging through some murky waters, which looks gorgeous. Our next artist is Mitsuhiro Rita, who worked on the Shuppet, which is definitely a card that I have somewhere around here. The Pinsir, which looks upwards at the pincers opening up a path with the sun to shine through. The Amistar, which swims around a coral reef and looks up. Then the Shiftry Hollow, which looks at the camera menacingly with its arms out. Finally, they did the Kabutops Hollow, which swam along the waters with its eyes facing downwards. Our next artist is the legendary Koki Saito, working on the Wobbuffet, which holds its arm on its head with its mouth wide open, the Wailord Hollow, which breaches from the water and looks at the camera, the Mew Hollow, which looks at the camera very cutely with its bright blue eyes, the Machamp, which looks super buff and looks at the camera as we look a little up at the Pokemon, making it look very imposing, the Gengar Hollow, which is a top-down view of the Pokemon as it smiles devilishly. Those are all the cards by Saito. Next, we've got Naoya Kimura, working on the Lyron, who stands on top of a rock and looks forwards, and the Delcatty Hollow, which perches on a branch and looks into the distance. Both of these artworks are fantastic, as Kimura's cards always look good, but these are no exception. Now, we have Hisao Nakamura, who worked on the Solrock, which looks up at the sun as a cloud is below it, with a red line in the back. And the Magneton, which float along next to a tree as it has leaves falling behind it. The Lunatone, which looks up behind it as the moon sits right behind the Pokemon. And the Aggron Hollow, which wipes its claw and looks menacing, as a Pokemon like Aggron definitely should. Our final normal artist is the one and only Hajime Kusajima, who worked on the Ghastly, which swirls around and smiling, next to a tree. The Dunsparce, which curls up into a ball looking almost sad. the Golem Hollow, which crushes rocks around it as it pushes forwards, and the Cradilly, which we get to see the whole head of, and the eye is kinda holographic. Finally, the Aerodactyl Hollow, which curls up and expands its wings outwards, while it swipes its tail. All of these cards are, of course, wonderful illustrations by Kusujima. Finally, for the set, we've got some awesome EX cards. Some of the nicest ones that we've seen so far, in my opinion. That's because Hikaru Koike really put their heart and soul into this Arcanine EX, which sprays fire out of its mouth and looks grimly at the camera, with fire all below the Pokemon. This would be Koike's last Pokemon that they ever illustrated. Truly a shame, as they were a master of this darkened EX style that the earlier EX era was so well known for. Cards like the Rayquaza EX, Rocket Caesar EX, and the Regirock EX, as well as some of their earlier cards, like the Steelix from Skyridge, and the Magneton from Aquapolis, or even their first card, the Max Revive from Gym Challenge, I think? Koike will be missed, at least by me, as I really enjoyed their cards. Also, some random return to the Pokemon TCG is Kimia Masago, who worked on the Armaldo EX, which primes its claws as it looks down, on top of some rocks, and the Walrein EX, which opens its mouth as it stands on top of some ice. Masago may not have had many cards, but cards like the Mewtwo from Expedition or the Umbreon from Neo Discovery will be cards that I will always remember, even to this day, and Masago truly was a talented artist, and it's a shame to see them go so soon. Now, we have Mitsuhiro Iida's EX cards, being the Bayonet EX, which extends one of its hands as circles of green, blue, and purple can be seen in rings behind the Pokemon, which almost look temporal. And the Dustox EX, which flies along and smiles, with outlines of the Pokemon behind it. Finally, for EX cards, we have Ryo Ueda's EX cards, being the Flygon EX, which flies through the world, looking determined, and the Mew EX, which looks at the camera cutely with a nice teal background. This card is an iconic card for Mew, and is a really dope one at that. But we might as well cover the secret rare that Ueda did for the set as well, being the technical first Delta Species Pokemon, as the set was supposed to release before Delta Species came out, but ended up not doing it because of translation issues. But the secret rare is the Delta Species Pikachu, which is a Metal-type Holo Pokemon that has a very intimidating look for the cute Pikachu. And this is a sign that Delta Species Pokemon will be a pivotal part of the TCG. Finally, we have the Gold Star Pokemon illustrated by the fantastic Masakazu Fukuda, which would be the Regice Gold Star, which extends its arms outwards and takes center stage as a beam of light flows behind it. The Regirock Gold Star, which punches with its fist, as every little crevice of the rock can be seen in the Pokemon. And finally, the Registeel Gold Star, which is my personal favorite Gold Star card of all time. I just love the pose that the Pokemon is in, with that flowy attitude. I just enjoy the colors of Shiny Registeel as well, and these three cards by Fukuda are all fantastic, as always. I'd say my favorite cards from the set would be the Registeel Gold Star, Arcanine, Armaldo, Flygon, and Mew EX cards. The Aggron, Delcatty, Gengar, Kabutops, Lapras, Machamp, Mew, and Victory Bell Hollows, and the Girafarig, Lunatone, Cascoon, Electrode, Haunter, Roselia, Tentacruel, Ghastly, Magby, Magnemite, Ammonite, Skitty, Trapinch, and the Field Worker Trainer cards are my favorite, which is kind of a lot of cards for such a small set, as there were only 93 cards for me to cover in the set, but I still found a lot of favorites. This set was smaller than other sets, but this doesn't make it any less impactful and enjoyable, as I personally really enjoy the set and everything inside of it, and I'm happy that I was able to finish this script. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and if you liked the video, make sure you share, like, comment, and subscribe. Anyways, all of you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video, where I'll be covering EX Hollow Phantoms, one of the best sets ever created. Dramatic ending.